Welcome to Myers Metal Detectors, located in sunny Tampa, Florida, where we sell nothing but fun and adventures, treasure hunting gear, and anything you can imagine for metal detecting. Give us a call, 813-237-1939. Happy hunting and dig deeper.
Live from sunny Florida, it's Treasure Talk.
Welcome, folks.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition of Treasure Talk. And we've got a great show lined up for today for sure, don't we, Jeff?
We certainly do.
And and for folks who don't know, I'm in sunny Tampa, Florida, and it was a balmy hot day today. How about you, Jeff?
Oh, it was hot. It was very, very hot.
I'm
and very humid.
Yes, very extremely humid. It felt like it was 100%. And I'm glad the lovely Miss Jocelyn let me have the air on. She doesn't know it. It's 76 degrees in my house. Nice and cool.
Yeah, and the thermostat police are coming for you.
Yeah, she normally likes to have it up around 80 in the house. And on show days, I try to keep it at 76. Yeah, she's got Key West blood. That's her excuse. But I'm glad we have the air now nice and cool. So you won't see any sweating, my face sweating on the show tonight.
Well, sometimes I have Modelo blood, but still, I got mine at 75.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, I guess we better get started because we got a lot of stuff to do. So let me run through the spiel. As always, today's show is brought to you by your friends at Myers Metal Detectors, where we sell fun and adventure. And the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by the Treasure Talk members and guests belong solely to the member and guests and not necessarily to Phil Myers, Jocelyn Myers, Myers Metal Detectors, or Jeff Mona. Yes, and of course, the purpose of Treasure Talk is to promote the hobby of metal detecting and treasure hunting and to educate our members in a fun, informative manner. And that's what we're going to do today, aren't we, Jeff?
Yes, we are. And I thought there's somebody on the chat that says, hello, folks. Don't forget to get a pinpointer from Phil. Get a detector and a scoop, and then get a pinpointer.
There you go. And that was, I think, my good buddy, Joe Busy.
That's who it was. That's exactly who it was. He can run, but he can't hide.
He helps me on Saturdays, and I think he's going to help me this Saturday. And we're going to do a live stream Saturday afternoon, aren't we, Jeff?
Yep, at 1 o'clock, because there's all kinds of new and exciting stuff at Myers Metal Detectors in sunny Tampa, Florida, and we're going to show it all to you and talk about it.
We're going to try to. It's really tough, nailing down the exact time because we'll have customers in there all day, and normally they're in. I'm real busy earlier in the morning, so hopefully we'll be able to do it at like 1 o'clock sharp, and hopefully I'll learn how to run the show the way you do, Jeff, because you're going to be gone in the month of July, aren't you?
Yep, and just so everybody knows, 4th of July, there will be no show on the Monday night of July 4th.
Yes.
Because we are taking a little vacation break. And then I will be gone the whole month of July. I will be on a train trip through Canada. So I'll be back in August, but Big Pappy, my cousin from across the pond, the Sicilian, he's going to sit in. And,
yes,
then all you got to say then is just forget about it. Huh? Forget about it.
He's going to give me a hand and try to run the show as good as you do, Jeff.
He'll do.
So we'll do that, and this Saturday we're going to try to do a live stream and show some of the new products that we have there to shop because we've got loads of new stuff coming in every day, and it should be fun.
Yes, it should.
Yeah.
And this show tonight's going to be a lot of fun because everybody has seen and met Sal Gattuso before.
Yes.
And I have to say that when the Mumbles Man, myself, and Dan Graham, Mr. Grammar Time, when we made our England excursion, we went with Sal and history hunts. And I want to tell you what, it was right on. So we're going to talk some about that tonight. We're going to talk about some of the other stuff he's doing. And he has a great giveaway tonight. Trust me, if you haven't entered, too bad. I already know who the winners are, but I hope they're all watching. So I think we need to get Sal going on here, don't you, Phil?
Absolutely. Bring them on.
Let's bring on Sal Gattuso History Hunts. Hello, Sal.
Hey, boys.
Hey, Sal, the video is perfect. You look great there in your study. So I guess before we get started, why don't you give the members a rundown real quick of what History Hunts is and how long you've been doing it and where you're at, and also the temperature where you're at.
Sure. Okay. I am in central Mississippi near Jackson, just to get that out of the way. And today we broke 100 degrees, pretty hot and humid. It's time to get in the water. So for the month of July, I will be relocating to the Treasure Coast, Florida, with some of my buddies, and we're going to be underwater on those shipwreck sites. So that's how we're going to stay cool for the month of July when it's too hot for history hunts to get in the woods or the fields. But History Hunts, just if you hadn't heard of it before, it's a little small tour company that I started, I guess, now going on about 12 years ago. And it's always been small by design. And we go on all sorts of adventures. England, like was just mentioned, we do gold prospecting in Nevada, gem mining in Colorado, Civil War relic hunts in Louisiana and Virginia, Mississippi as well. And even some Native American digs we've done before with and without archaeologists involved in Texas. But we have a lot of fun, and we've got a good group of folks through the History Hunt Club, which is some of you guys that are on this show are part of History Hunt Club, I know. And I think it's about 100 members usually each year. And we don't have anything planned at the moment. Well, we do have some things planned, but nothing going on at the moment because it's just like I said, crops are in the fields and the woods are grown up, and snakes and ticks and poison ivy and oak. And about the best thing I can do right now is to work on those shipwrecks. But we'll have a good opportunity for one of our members to come and spend some time with us diving on the 1715 fleet in the month of July. So a lot of fun things come with being in the History Hunt Club, and we can get into that more later. But I don't want to just talk you guys to death. So,
well, we got to know what's your air conditioner set on at the house, Sal?
Well, my bride likes it at about 75 during the day and 73 at night.
Oh,
See,
look at you.
Jocelyn, see? I set mine at 75 during the day and 72 at night with the ceiling fan on.
I'll come home from the shop and it'll be 80 degrees and I'll sit down watching TV and I swear I must have COVID because the water's pouring off of me.
Feels good
But-
to me.
To be honest, I grew up in a house that didn't have air conditioner most of the time when I was a kid, and it was in Mississippi. So 80 degrees I can get used to. At night when she turns that air down, if I'm in this study, I got a blanket on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
we sleep at 76 degrees and I'm comfortable with that. It's just sometimes during the show, if she's got it up at 80, I'm sweating.
But
So,
he knows what I'm saying.
but yeah, so it's nice and comfortable today. So we'll get started on talking about history hunts. So you're over in July, you're over at the Treasure Coast. Are you working with a salvage crew? Which crew?
Yeah, so I've been involved with that operation over there since about 2014, I worked with one operation for a few years, another operation for 1 year, and now one of the boats, one of the subcontractors, I help them out. And I'm not regular crew. I don't really like signing up for that because I've done that before, and it's a good experience to be regular crew, but it is a very involved experience. If you ever think you want to be a treasure diver, you really have to understand that what goes into it is mostly not anything that's exciting at all. Mostly it's a lot of boat work, both in the boat yard at 100+ degrees and on the water. And it's also a lot of very monotonous days that wear you down. If you have good weather, I remember in 2016 we had a stretch of it was more than 35 days of good water conditions to go out on the wrecks, and we were working Douglas Beach out of Fort Pierce, and for better than 35 days we were at that boat every morning at 5 a.m. and we weren't back at the dock until dark if weather permitted, which most of those days it did. And it got toward the end of that, I was just sleeping on the boat because it wasn't worth driving back to my condo. So it takes a special kind of person to do that nonstop. But yeah, we do. We just help out. I've got a couple of tools that I put to use that the other groups don't have, where we actually got some neat stuff that I'm experimenting with out there underwater. Not electronics, as a matter of fact, but not non-electronic stuff. But yes, a lot of fun. Last season we helped them out, and we got into some gold bits of chain and gold nuggets and one gold coin and a handful of silver coins. So it's still a lot of treasure out there, as you guys know. You know how much treasure's on off those beaches of Florida.
Yeah.
There's a bunch.
So you found some last season, you said?
Yeah, we did. We didn't have a lot of good working days, but one of the GPS coordinates that I had some intelligence on from previous, decades of work, because if you're involved in those wrecks, you've got what they call AutoCAD, which is it's got all the GPS markings from as long as GPS has been used on those wrecks, and that's a requirement of the state of Florida that we GPS mark every hole that's worked. And so by going back and researching some of that data, I was able to pinpoint an area that looked very interesting, and should, treasure hunting, just like what we talked about in England, Jeff, you find stuff where you found it. And that's why I keep all those good GPS records in England, because if we found Celtic gold on that corner in England, and then I sent, one of the young men that was with us over to that corner to check it, and it did, and it didn't. It really didn't totally surprise me that he found another ancient gold coin in that corner, because it was there. 20 of them had been found in that corner. So why wouldn't there be more? And it's the same way with this shipwreck, because the ocean, and especially close to shore, it's like a sluice. I mean, it's like a big sluice box. Gold and silver and lead and brass. The heavy stuff, it'll find its resting spots, and it seems to find it in very similar spots across that coastline. And if you know how to find those spots, even if those spots have been picked clean many years ago, hurricanes and other things, new material has found its way into those catches.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Because that's all got what does it's kind of a coral down underneath the sand there, isn't it? So you got a pretty hard bottom, so it doesn't go
right
really that deep down, does it?
It's a combination of worm rock, which is dead. It's ancient dead coral formations. We call it worm rock. It's not actively growing coral anymore. It died many years ago, many centuries ago, apparently. But it's a combination of that and just basically limestone bottom. And you've got to pick your battles, though, because in some areas, and you don't know from season to season, some areas there'll be so much sand covering that you never get to it. You never find the bottom. Some areas, it may be very little sand. It just depends on the time of year and what the hurricane season did before. But I like the research behind it, and it's a lot of fun. I do enjoy getting out on the boat, and it's nice to get underwater when it's so hot outside. Those parts of it I do enjoy, and we did live over on the Treasure Coast for a few years, so my girls like it. So we have a friend that has a condo there that I've worked out a deal with him for the month of July. We're going to go spend July there and work from the condo and then do some treasure diving. So
you'll be about what, 15, 20 feet down?
At the most. I mean, 15 feet where we are is pressing it. I think we're probably about 8 to 12 feet.
No, that's good because you get good bottom time then without.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you're supposed to keep up with your downtime at 10 feet. I mean, I'm a licensed scuba diver, but honestly, I don't keep up with it. I've spent an hour 45 down at 10 feet and not felt like I was doing anything wrong. I probably might have burned up a few brain cells, probably.
Have you tried any of the hookah outfits?
Yeah, so we did tanks for quite a while, and some of the groups still do tanks. But more recently, we've been going with brownies, surface supplied compressors. I like brownies because they're right there in Florida. I mean, I'm not a paid promotional speaker for brownies, but I've had good experience with them. What's interesting, though, I don't know, Phil, do you carry those
The
the blue
Nemos?
products?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
That's
what's really
brownie's son.
interesting is
Right.
I like those actually. And I think, the one that they first came out with, I did try one on the Rex last summer. It's just a little bit too minimal for what working on those Rex. Because if you're wanting to get down 10 feet and that thing's only rated to go 10 feet, any swells come up and it's going to pull you off of the bottom, which it did me that. Not only that, the size of that compressor, I found, based on my experience with the brownies and with scuba tanks, you are sucking a little bit hard to get the air. It's not really just a lot of air. You got to get used to it. I haven't tried the Nomad yet, but I understand it's a bit bigger compressor and it is rated for deeper, so it ought to solve those problems.
Yeah, I think it's rated for almost 40 feet.
Yeah.
And Blake is Brownie's son.
Yeah.
So the Blue Nemo is,
It's
originated from Brownies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a sister. It's like they're the parent company. I get
Parent
you.
company, absolutely. That's what they are. And I had a chance to use the Blue Nemo, and I thought it was really cool because I've never dove before.
It's a great entry into underwater.
Yes, it is. It gets you underwater and you're breathing underwater. It's just, to me, it was the coolest thing.
I put my 9-year-old on it. She was loving it. It's great.
Yeah, I can't wait to use it in the Gulf a little bit. I just used it in the pool and I just thought it was fascinating. So
Oh, yeah.
that's going to happen this summer for me for sure. But yeah, it's an excellent product. So you're using the Brownie one that's the gas powered, I guess.
Well, the brownie ones are, yeah, and those are mounted to the hard roofs of those boats, because you need that thing to breathe fresh air. That's very important.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we run a lot of airline, and you have to also be very careful when operating on a hookah on a treasure operation, just because you really don't want, unless you've got it run really far away from the back or the stern of the boat, you don't want to run even idle on a prop, because those airlines float and they find themselves wrapped around the shaft very fast of a propeller. It's dangerous and it's expensive. I've seen one that the person that was on the boat with us, even though when we're all sitting in the boat, we say, make sure everything's in the boat, nothing's hanging off before we run the props to run the blowers. And the line on that hookah was just a little bit looped down and just barely in the water. And when we cut the idle on for those blowers to kick in on those twin props, it managed in a matter of seconds to suck that hookah line into the prop, into the shaft. And by the time we stopped it, the regulator, and those things are like $100 plus for the regulator, was melted to the shaft. I mean, the thing was destroyed.
Yeah. So you got to be careful for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what you got coming up for History Hunts.
Yeah, man. All right. So for those of you who are not in the History Hunt Club, just so you know, it's an annual thing, and that's the majority of what we do, unless we have a really big outing, is limited just because I don't have room to be members of the club. So if you're in the club, you get to sign up for those hunts. And so we will be opening that back up for membership this fall. That'll probably be in October, November. And so if you're interested, it comes with a lot of interesting perks. And so make sure you get involved in that and get signed up. It's a minimal cost, and then you get a lot for your money, and you also get to sign up for the hunts. As far as upcoming hunts, we have one little small outing that will be toward the end of the summer. It'll be a really interesting spot that we found. It's in Mississippi. We found it looking for a Civil War site last. This was probably in the spring, and it was the last day of a little outing we did. And on this property that I had never taken anyone to, we found one of the hunters on the last day, last afternoon, found this nice flat piece of ground with a creek running around it, three sides, and started finding early pre-Civil War home site material, flat buttons, some Civil War stuff mixed in, a bullet or two, some old coins. But what was interesting, we all ended up going to that area to help her out because it was late in the day and she wanted us all to come join her. It was a big area that had several old home sites. I had no clue had been there. You could see some brick in the ground, but what was most interesting was that when we dug, we all were on walkie-talkie radios. It was like 4 or 5 of us. But when we would dig these signals, 90% of the time, I kid you not, we would get out a broken Native American spear point or a knife blade broken or some chips. So what it encountered was a combination of an 1800s home site that was sitting probably on a Native American campsite. And so it was so thick, and the Deus loves an iron laden spot, but it was so thick in the heart of that metal wise that even the Deus was having a hard time picking out the non-ferrous. It was up like that. And so my thought is when it's still dry toward the end of the summer, bring out a couple of little shaker sifters, archaeology style, and we set up 2 teams. It's just going to be 4 people plus 2 helpers, me and another helper. We set up 2 teams with these sifters, and we're sifting out that really dense area. I think it'll be loads of fun because we will get the historic stuff, but we'll also get the Native American non-metallic stuff. And so that's going to be a little event for History Hunt Club members only. And then we do also have another trip to England that'll be happening in September. And that one is filled with History Hunt Club members that had wanted to go on the last one, but we couldn't accommodate. And then we've got October, we'll kick into our fall season in Virginia. So October, November, and possibly even December, we'll do a series of Civil War hunts in Virginia. And of course, the thing in July is kind of a sideline deal. I can't do like history hunts per se on the 1715 fleet because the state of Florida does not allow us to run chartered tours through these wrecks. What I can do, however, is as a crew member, as I am, I can bring a guest on for several days. It's kind of a loophole, but it works for us. And we just have to make sure we fill out the proper paperwork.
Cool.
Yes, indeedy. So you'll be going to England. You'll be hunting, the same areas that we hunted when we were there because they keep turning up stuff,
Yeah, it's interesting, Jeff. Some of those areas, you remember that one spot that we found some coins on it was a new property and there was a lot of signals that day. It had a ditch running through it kind of.
Yep.
Well, that spot, my wife just got back from running a tour and they went back to that spot, but also a lot of those other fields that had been in grass were in different stages of being able to be hunted. Some were just plowed, and so they were too rough. Some were good. But that's the good thing is that every time you go, even if you go at the same time of year, you are liable to encounter different properties that you didn't see the time before. And of course, to your point, you get some of the same ones. And I don't mind that because I don't mind going back to the scene of the crime. But I didn't want to go back again in September because it was very hot. Last time it was a little warmer than I had liked it in England because I'm used to it being a little cool. But the guys that wanted to go, the ones that had been wanting to go since before COVID, that was the only time they could all agree on. So I said, okay, I'll take you.
Yeah, well, it was very nice. When we were over there in the mornings, it was nice and cool. And I mean, you got up to 72, 73 during the afternoon. So it was really nice in my mind. Of course.
It Yeah, a little bit. Well, I like to wear certain clothes, and I guess I didn't bring the right. I mean, you almost had to. You could go short sleeve in the middle of the day when we were there.
Yeah.
But it was, we didn't have a lot of rain to contend with, so I couldn't complain there. We could have got a lot worse rain.
Yeah. Yeah. We were blessed. And, and we all found good stuff. And, going back to some of the same places, it depends on, how much rain they've had through the summertime and plowing. And they always turn up, lots of stuff.
I know it, and I mean, it always blows my mind. I'm still scratching my head about that spot where I found that little gold coin at the very end of the hunt because I've been hunting that little field for years, and I mean, it's not a very big field, and to think that gold coin has been in that little spot on that field for probably the last 8 years that I've been visiting that field, and that I've not. It just shows you how incomplete you really are with a metal detector. No matter if you're good or what, even if you're gritting, just to your point, if the plow didn't plow it up, or if it plowed it down, or if it's on edge and too deep, or if I just barely miss it because I'm swinging over it.
Yep. Yep. So there's always something there. And now I'm kind of anxious to get back there with the Deus too.
Yeah, now that'd be interesting because very few Deus 2s have been on most properties. I mean, very few. So, and I know the Equinox is also a multi-frequency machine. So maybe that Deus 2 is going to work like that. But I mean, I'm looking forward to getting the Deus 2 over there also.
Yeah, yeah. It's having owned Equinoxes and the Deus 2. I think my detector of choice for England is definitely going to be the Deus 2.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, especially with that 9-inch coil, in some of the fields over there, the way they're plowed up sometimes, with that 11-inch coil, it's hard to get in there.
Yeah, I love that 9-inch
right
coil. I love the Deus. That's my favorite.
Yeah, mine too.
No.
And we're making Phil a convert too, I think.
I mean, this isn't a paid Deus advertisement, but you can see I got my two Deus 2s right behind me, right there.
Mine's right here, both of them.
Yeah, I've had a call from somebody today who was hunting in California in a public park that he pounded for years with MindLab products, and now he's got a Deus 2, and he said his two buddies still use the MindLab, but he pulled 5 silver coins out, and he's just wondering how he did that. And it's a good detector, I know that. Now, have you been swinging that Deus 2 then, Sal?
I have not tried it yet. I'll be honest with you. I gave my wife a choice because she just went to England. She just got back a few weeks ago. And I said, I'll set you up with the Deus 2 if you want. She was afraid. And I mean, it was smart. That's smart. She was afraid to take on a brand new machine to England. So she just brought her old tried and true Deus 1 with the 9-inch coil. And she did quite well. She found her first Celtic gold coin, a little small quarter stater. But I have not tried it in the field, and I am horrible about warming up to a brand new machine. I get so used to my old faithful, but yeah. I am going to commit to it, just probably not until I kick things up here at the end of summer. Because, of course, I'm not going to use it on the shipwrecks. That's not what I'm in for.
Yeah.
Now, when you're on the shipwrecks, are you using a metal detector?
Yeah, we do. A couple things, but what I'm doing is a little bit different. I won't get into it today, but I can tell you guys offline at some point. But what the machine of choice that we use has, and it's one of those machines you kind of hate them, but you love them because they work. Is the old Aqua scans? Are you familiar, either one of you, with those?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been around. They're from England. They've been around forever. They're the most basic analog pulse induction little basically dive centric machines that have a little can that you wear on your BCD or your vest or whatever, or your belt. And then they got a coil, and that's all there is to it. And it's got knobs. And I tell you what, I hate them because they're temperamental. Every time you change elevation, you got to ground balance them. And they also I mean, they don't seem to last under hard use after a year, and they're expensive. But I love them because, man, those things work great on that black and salt sand underwater on those shipwrecks. They can ping in on Spanish cobs with really good depth. They're not extremely sensitive on small gold, but they ping in on gold coins just fine. I found a gold coin with one before, and I know, but silver half reals, they ping on those good. But what we like, in addition to you can get like a little 8-inch coil, and that's good. But what I really like is you can also get high-powered long probes, and you get those probes in cracks in the bedrock, and it's a lot of work to get. If you do get a signal in a bedrock crack that's that wide, that's that deep, that you can't get your arm into, but you can get that probe into, and you get a good beep, well, it's probably a good chance that's something good. But you have to have little forceps and stuff to fish them out. It's like the ultimate claw machine game. But we've done that before, and I tell you, it's scary, man, not because of fish or anything, but you got a high-powered flashlight. We were at a crack. This was back in 2016 or 17, and we were getting some little silver cobs, half reals, out of that crack. And I got a real faint hit that I even passed it up. It was so faint, because a lot of times that machine will false on you. And so I thought that faint was falsing me. But I found some little silver cobs downstream from it. So I thought, well, it's got the chance. So I went back when I run out of signals, and I went back. I even had the guy that was down there diving with me to check it with his machine, which was a newer machine. And he checked it, and he gave me this, like, yeah, it's a signal. So I put my light down on it, and, there's little shells down in there and stuff, and you can hardly see. But I saw the glint of gold. And then I hand fanned it. Like I said, it's a foot down there. I can't get my arm down in there to get it. No way. Humanly impossible. But it's like a foot down, and I see I think it was it's a 2 Escudo gold coin. And so then I tell my guy to go up and get the forceps, and I'm trying to communicate underwater, and I'm telling him to wrap the tips of them with electrical tape, because I saw 22 karat gold. I don't want to gouge up this perfectly good gold cob that's, thousands of dollars down here. And so he gets the message, because we were working together quite a bit that season. He comes back down. I got these long forceps, stainless steel medical forceps, and they're wrapped in electrical tape black at the ends of them. And I go down, and I get it real careful, and I'm coming back up, and then like a surge comes, and it washes water down back in that crack in it. I'm not holding it tight, and it releases it, and that gold coin just kind of tumbles. And I look, and it's about 4 inches from a hole that I can't even see the bottom of down in that crack. And if it would have went in that hole, it would have been game over. So then I got it, but it didn't, thank God. I got it again. I pulled it out, and I set it on top, and I'm like out of breath. And ended up being a 1714 Mexico 2 Escudo. Now, Florida ended up claiming that was my first gold coin I located underwater. But that's okay. I got a bunch of silver coins that season.
Now, how did Florida claim that?
Well, because under the leases that Mel Fisher and Kip Wagner's group established back in the 60s, we have an arrangement with the state of Florida. Florida gets 20% of everything that we find from each wreck every season. They get up to 20%. Sometimes they don't. All of that goes into the museum at Tallahassee. It's part of our arrangement. And so they get a list of everything we find. We tag it and catalog it, and everything's done properly. And then at the end of the season, Florida looks at that list, and they're only supposed to claim things that they don't already have in their collection. Now, I can't imagine they didn't have that coin in particular in their collection, but you try to play nice with them. We have a good relationship, so we don't argue. And they wanted that, and in exchange, they gave us all the other stuff we found. And the other stuff we found included a couple of other gold coins that I did not find, and about 60 or some odd 70 silver coins and some silver artifacts. And so it worked out. I got a handful of silver coins. they got that coin. But that's how it works with the state of Florida. Basically, if you're a subcontractor, you work with the owners of the wrecks. There's people that own the wrecks. And so that's a 50-50 relationship. You split what you find 50-50, owner and subcontractor. Each of the boats is a subcontractor. But it's really only 40-40 because Florida can take 20%. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's fair. I mean, it's one of the only shows in town as far as legally sanctioned private sector treasure salvage. Those are things you don't hear about too much more in this world we live in, unfortunately.
No,
Yeah, at least you're getting something,
All right. And it's a lot of
the
fun.
experience. You had the experience of finding the gold escudo,
Yeah.
and so it doesn't get that much better than that. Now this summer, July, I just got a feeling you're going to find 4 of them.
Good. I like it, man. I like it. Well, I'll talk to you guys privately sometime about one of the projects I've been working on for a few years. Really interesting stuff. And it's just, if you want to get different results in life, you have to do things differently sometimes. And that's what this is all about. I believe in that. Even though I say that, I do like to go back to the same old spots and metal detect them. I should probably learn my lesson about going to new spots every now and then.
Now your gold coins that you found in England, they just have to go through the process and then you eventually get those, correct?
Yeah, those are they're a lot cleaner process just because England has a really good treasure act on the books because of so much treasure found. So yeah, so the gold coins, even ancient, it doesn't matter. A lot of people get confused. I had one of the guys find an extremely rare gold coin one time, an Anglo-Saxon gold coin, probably worth about $10,000. And people are like, oh, he'll never get to bring that home. Well, he did get to bring it home. Not that right then, but if it's a singular find, one of a type in that field, then it does not qualify as treasure. The only thing that England could deny you, let's say that you found a gold coin that had never been seen before from Anglo-Saxon England. They'd never seen it before. It's a one-off. It's worth tons of money, and it's extremely rare and arguably belongs in a museum. They cannot lay claim to that coin under the Treasure Act. The only thing that England can do is deny you an export license. Okay, what do you say? If I don't live in England, well, what good is it to me if I can't export it home? Well, you would just then be forced to sell it at auction. But you could sell it at auction and they'd have to pony up and buy it if they wanted it. Or it would go to the highest bidder and you would receive half of the proceeds. The farmer received the other half. But for the most of the coins, the coin that Ashley just found, the the Celtic gold coin, the coin that Phil found back when Jeff was there, which was a 45 BC Celtic gold stater. Those, even though they're ancient and they're beautiful works of art, they're, believe it or not, fairly common in the museum. So as a one-off of a coin, even if it had been, Phil's, for example, had been part of a hoard a long time ago and they acquired some, but now they're not acquiring them anymore. So generally speaking, they've just gone digital. It used to take 3 to 6 months. Now, really, it's taken 1 to 3 months for our guy to get the approvals done. It's not that big of a deal. And then either you pay to have it shipped home to you, or you just get him to give it to you in person the next time you go back.
Yep. I had mine shipped because I wasn't sure when I was going to get back.
Yeah, you want to get your stuff, and that's fine. I've had it both ways, and it works.
But I'm thinking I will be going back. I'll get the mumbles, man, and we'll be back.
Yeah, we'll get y'all back over there, and look, we'll go in a little different time of year, give you a little different scenery.
So, Sal, what is your favorite find that you've dug up with a detector?
My favorite find, I mean, I guess it would be an England find. Just, the stuff over there, even though I don't, Civil War stuff in America and Seminole War stuff and Native American, of course, that's not metallic. All that stuff I have a lot of, I'm super interested in, but the history in England goes back so much further. Not the Native American, of course, but for metallic stuff. So I guess, I guess my favorite, I mean, the one that sticks in my head the most, I dug back in 2007, and it was a tiny, tiny gold coin about the size of your pinky fingernail from 640 AD. It was made in York, in England, and it was Anglo-Saxon. It's Dark Age stuff, and it had a little pagan guy with a trident holding it in one hand, and then on the back it had a Jerusalem cross. So the experts figure that the Anglo-Saxons, who by 640 AD many had converted to Christianity, but some were still hanging on to the old gods. They figured this coin, they were hedging their bets. They put the pagan god on one side and the Christian cross on the other side. So, maybe you get it one way or the other. That probably sticks with me the most. Now, that one was about 3 inches deep in one of those fields we visited, Jeff. But I tell you, the one that is probably my favorite in England, of course, anywhere, is I love finds that you find on the surface. And a plowed field will give you surface finds from time to time. And just a few years ago, I walked up on one of those little Celtic gold coins sitting on the surface. And I just sat there and called everybody over that wanted to come see it and curse me out that I had found this coin from 45 BC sitting on the deck. So anyway.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, that happens, I imagine. It happens over here, when they tore a building down or whatnot, and there'll be a silver coin laying on top of the ground.
Love it.
Shake your head and just say, wow. Yeah, that's crazy. So I just want to remind folks that if you're on Facebook or YouTube, Jeff is watching a few sites and Jocelyn's on the Treasure Talk Facebook page. So if you have any questions, just write them down and send it over. We'll get it asked for sure.
Now, you've got some hunts coming up in Virginia, and you do a lot of them where you really need a multi-frequency or a PI machine, correct? On all that heavily mineralized soil up there south?
I have done some before, Jeff, and where a PI was your best bet. Most recently, though, like what I've got planned for this fall, you could do just fine with a single frequency machine. You don't need, but you're not going to be hurting from a multi-frequency, because you will find that on some properties, we hunt some very large properties, and you'll find that some parts of the land have a little more mineralization than others. Not so much that a multi-frequency wouldn't be all you need, but I think pulse in a lot of my properties in Central Virginia is overkill. It would work, but the increase in iron that you would have to tolerate would probably not be worth it, honestly.
But thank goodness Deus 2 has arrived.
There it is. Deus 2, baby.
Okay, so we do have some questions too. Robert Ridgway from Pinellas Park wants to know what your most unusual find is. And Shannon Bortner would like to know what's your favorite Native American find.
Okay, great. Yeah. So for most unusual, I mean, I've been doing this since I was 10 years old. I really got to think about this one. I lived in New Jersey for a bit, working for a company before I did this stuff. And I used to have a permit to metal detect the parks over in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And I'd find colonial coppers. I mean, it was some good stuff in those parks. Not historic parks, but just like parks. But one time in the woods, I found an old jar, and it had a bunch of little rolled up pieces of paper in it and had some other things in it. I can't remember exactly what, but some weird things in it. And I opened it, and it smelled like perfume in there. But each of those things was like a note. I read one of them, and then I put it back in, and I buried the thing back. But somebody, I guess a female, had written these notes on these things, and it was like promises or something. And so I didn't want to mess with whatever that was, and I did bury that back. That was a strange find. My Native American find actually was very recently, just in the last couple of years, actually, or last year. In the last year, I'm always interested there's a culture not far. It's in the Delta portion of Louisiana, and it stretches down. It's in Delta of Mississippi as well, but it's called Poverty Point. And the Poverty Point culture, without getting into too many details, but you guys, if you're into Native American, you should research this after we get off this call because you'd really be interested in this. They were a culture that constructed some huge earthen works that still stand today, that if they would have been using stone, which they didn't have access to, they would have rivaled those large temples and pyramids and mounds in Central America. But of course, up in America, they didn't have access to the big stone, not in these parts anyway. But this culture, interestingly enough, they were the time Middle Archaic days when the Native Americans were still nomadic. But this shows some staying put. It took a long time to build. These were people hauling 50-pound baskets of dirt. You know, how many of those baskets does it take to make one of these mounds are gigantic today, and you can't even understand them until you look at them from in the air. And in the air, one of them looks like it used to be a bird of prey. Now, what I love about that culture is that they must have had enough things figured out. Now we're talking about 1400 BC or better. They must have had enough stuff figured out with their, you got to satisfy the basic requirements first, right? Food and shelter and such. But they must have had enough of that figured out to go into some other things. And when I say other things, I mean like making ornamentations for themselves. Everything was stone. That pottery hadn't even been introduced at this site. But what they did was they were working red jasper, quartz, slate, other types of soapstone, and they will make, of course, soapstone they will make in bowls. But the red jasper, they will make in beads. The fanciest of the bead was a little red owl. I think they had something with birds, these people. Those red owls are something I've always aspired to walking up on when I find a Native American site that dates to that time period. Extremely rare, and I probably never will find one. But what I did find in the past year, to sum this story up, was one of these long tubular red jasper beads. It was broken, but it was all there. I mean, it was just the length was broken, but it was still about an inch and a quarter. So that's my neatest Native American find that I can call on in my head. I may have forgotten something else, but that's the one I really like lately.
Okay, Sal. Well, Jocelyn just gave me a couple questions here from Facebook. And this one is from Raymond Jones, and he's asking, can people sign up for the Virginia hunt?
The Virginia hunts are going to be, they're all small, several hunts with between probably between 5 and 7 people. Those are going to be limited at this time to the club membership. So you have to, if you're in the History Hunt Club, you will receive invitations to those hunts. If you're not, then I would just say keep an eye on the History Hunts Facebook group, as History Hunts Metal Detecting Facebook group. And if we have any openings, because all the club membership can't attend, then absolutely outside groups or people could sign up. But for now, you'd want to look toward getting in the club for next year, which would, like we said, will open up in the fall.
Okay. And then the other question is from Tom Becker, and he's asking what's the most remote place you've metal detected?
I'm going to tell you, I mean, as far as remote goes, this is not exotic. I mean, you could say exotic would be the Dominican Republic, but to me, that's not that remote. Even though that's a different country, to me, the most remote place I've detected was out in the desert in Nevada, 2 hours drive from pavement.
Oh, geez.
Now, I had a gentleman with me, and he's a great friend of mine. And if he's listening, I apologize. He'll know who he is. But he's an older gentleman, and he was one of the guys on the tour with me. And I thought to myself, if this poor old guy has a heart attack out here, all I can do is bury him if he keels over, because it wouldn't be getting him to no hospital in time. You're 2 hours from pavement. You're not 2 hours from anything hospital. You might be another 2 hours from a hospital. Now, luckily, he's a hardcore guy, and he made out just fine. But we were 2 hours off the pavement, high desert, rattlesnakes, scorpions under rocks. We're metal detecting, looking for gold nuggets. We found some. We found almost 4 ounces of gold in 6 days of doing this. But that was the most remote. I mean, you almost need one of those satellite phones. Your cell phones didn't work out there. So really, honestly, it felt like we were in the middle of nowhere, like on the moon. I mean, it felt unsafe, really.
Well, it looks like Jeff's got the banner rolling, so looks like somebody's going to be happy today.
3 somebodies are going to be happy today. And thank you in advance, Sal, for what you're giving away tonight. As you all know, he has got some limited edition trading cards that he's making. And these are going to be collector's items. So they're going to be really, really cool. And do you have any proofs there with you, Sal?
You know what? Everything is electronic, unfortunately. But I just approved the proofs last week. I've got a great printing company that does a lot of work in Orlando doing them for me, some club members. And they're going to be on good quality paper, 4-color pictures, high quality pictures. They're going to be 10 different finds that have come from history hunt related outings, not only coins, but artifacts as well, paired with 10 different backgrounds of pictures that I've either personally taken during outings or that have been places we visited. And so it's really a neat thing. And I'll tell you a little bit about those. You're going to get the 3 of you will get the whole set of 10. I'll mail them. You guys just make sure I get their addresses. But you will be the only folks that have those outside of History Hunt Club membership, which I think about 15 or 20 History Hunt Club members are going to get a set of those as well. And what those are, I was talking with these 2 fine gentlemen before we started about how it's so easy to get behind in technology with all these younger kids learning these things. And I hear terms and I have no clue what these young folks are even talking about. And I do try to expand my mind to keep my mind working to learn about some of these new things. And one of the things I took to learning this year was a little bit more about cryptocurrency and NFTs. Have either of you 2 gentlemen ever heard of NFTs?
I'm old.
You're not missing anything from what I can tell. There's a lot of noise around them. A lot of young folks, people had made some money off of these things, but I did take away some interest. The NFT stands for non-fungible token. Now, what is that? It's this stuff you've heard about, people selling JPEGs for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Have you heard about that? Well, you think, why would anybody buy a JPEG? Because they could just save a JPEG. Well, what it is the I'm not going to get into this because I get bogged down really fast, but the blockchain is this thing that exists in the ether where transactions are recorded on a ledger, and it's proof of ownership. And it's a way that you could buy concert tickets or raffle tickets, anything where there'd need to be proof of ownership. Well, I learned a lot about this. There's a lot of scams. Cryptocurrency is like this, it's up and down. It's scary stuff. But I did learn a lot about it. And what I decided was to do it for history hunts, but not to do it on the blockchain, to do it off chain to where it was just our group. It's private and it's within the group of club membership. This is something else you can look forward to if you get in History Hunt Club, is where I offered up to the membership to buy these NFTs, but I renamed them non-fungible treasures. And if you look up the word fungible, it's things that are unique or not replaceable. So it kind of made sense. So non-replaceable treasures. Okay. So
Okay.
what are they? Well, these folks get random JPEGs from the same thing, but I made 100 of them. And these trading cards are 10 physical adaptations of those JPEGs. Now, what are the JPEGs good for those people in my club? Well, by holding those, they're basically like deluxe raffle tickets for the year. So if you hold 5 of those, say, and I give up a spot on a trip, if you're holding number 32 and I drew number 32, you get a free trip, all expense paid. So it's just another fun way to do things. And that's a long way to explain these trading cards. I didn't just all of a sudden one day decide, okay, I'm going to make trading cards. I just thought it was a cool little thing. Now, I won't be able to do it for these 3 I'm giving away, but I think you'll hear it from me first here. I think for the group, the club members that are getting their sets, I think just like real baseball cards, maybe in 1 or 2 of those packets, I'm going to throw in a little real treasure in there with the cards when I mail them out.
Very cool. So let's do a drawing.
Yes,
And what you had to
do
do is you had to enter on Facebook, YouTube, or any of the other platforms we broadcast to. And you had to use the phrase history hunts history. And I've got 3 names because there's 3 winners. You'll have 3 minutes to text or Facebook Messenger Phil or myself with your name that you are here. And then you must send an email with your name, address, and phone number to treasuretalkshow@gmail.com. I will forward it to Sal. Name, address, and so everybody ready? Get your fingers ready because you got 3 minutes. And it is 7:56 or 7:57 right now. So at the top of the hour, we'll go to somebody else. So let's see. It is John Agans and Dan Graham and Kimberly Kramer. You've got 3 minutes to get up with me or Phil. So let's go get them done.
Yeah, get it done because we'll have some happy winners. And I think I might have seen some of those people here. So we'll see.
I think I have. So hopefully they will text or messenger. There's our numbers scrolling across the bottom of the screen.
That Dan is lucky. He's a lucky man.
He is. He can be.
Yeah.
He's probably going to try to go dive on the Rex with you.
Come on, man. Yeah, he'd love that.
Sometimes he's got more money than he's got sense. We know he ain't got no hairs. Oh, let's see who's texting me.
Like
Dan Graham.
There you go.
Kimberly Kramer.
Well done, Dan.
Kimberly won?
Kimberly and Dan.
Kimberly and Dan
have responded.
And who was the third one?
John Agans. I haven't heard from him yet. So he's still got John Agans. We got our winners. So everybody do the email so you can get your prizes. You all know the routine. So
that must have been that has to have been a record, Jeff.
I know.
For the fastest 3 winners. Absolutely.
Nice. Love it. I'll tell you what I'll do. Since it happened so fast, I will, in one of those 3 randomly, I'll put in a little actual real treasure.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So everybody do the email, name, address, phone number. Send it to treasuretalkshow@gmail.com. I will forward him to Sal and he'll get it out to you. So you guys are lucky and you are going to be happy, happy, happy.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like we're running close. Boy, that hour is going quick, didn't it?
Boy, it did. It did indeed.
So, Sal, real quick before we sign off, you said there will be openings in the History Hunt Club, but that's not till the end of the year.
Yeah, that'll be in the fall, probably, October, November timeframe before Thanksgiving.
And they would just have to follow you on Facebook.
Yeah, so if you're on the Facebook History Hunts Facebook group, as well as the History Hunts Metal Detecting group, I will put up announcements about that with a link where they can go and sign up. And I do that on a first come, first serve basis. I have people every year kind of rotating in and out. So I'll have some people that have signed up every year. This will be I think this next year will be the 4th year we've done the club. And I always have some return folks, but then I have some people that realize maybe they didn't have a chance to sign up for the hunts. They wouldn't have a chance. And honestly, some people just kind of drift in and out of the hobby. So the odds are good that if you're interested and you sign up whenever I put those links up, you'll have a really good chance of signing up for the club.
Yep, and Sal will let me know, and I'll get it posted on our group.
Yeah.
So for you to go and join, and we're going to put a link on the Treasure Talk anyway to History Hunt Club, so you can go become a member there, and then when you get a chance, sign up for the hunts with membership. So it'll be good.
Perfect.
You won't be sorry. I promise you that.
Cool. Well, I want to thank you, Sal, for coming on here with us and giving away the prizes. I'm sure the people are going to love those cards. And thank you, Jocelyn, for helping me here. And thank you, Jeff. And thank you to our many members, because it looks like we have well over 5,000 on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah, we
Congratulations.
do.
And a bunch on YouTube too, members on YouTube. So that's awesome. So thank you, guys. And if you have any questions on metal detector related equipment, just give me a ring at the shop tomorrow. And I'll turn it over to you, Jeff.
All righty, Sal, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I know it's been a busy day for you, but we can always count on you to dispense with good information and good stories. And looking forward to heading back across the pond with you soon. So
Yes, sir.
Thanks very much for joining us tonight. I'll get those names to you as soon as I get them. I'll forward them to you, and we'll be good to go. So
Sounds
with that being said, Sal, tell your lovely wife we said hello. We're looking forward to seeing her again. Hug those babies for us. And thanks again. And everybody, happy hunting and dig deeper. Good night, all.
Absolutely. Happy hunting.
boys.
Dig deeper, my friends.